Hey folks, welcome back to Gaming Garbage. We're going to take a look at games, chat about the gaming news, the industry, and of course, stream for fun. This is kind of a state of Bethesda. And the reason this is frustrating for me is because I grew up with Bethesda games in the 2000s and basically to present day. And I am beginning to lose trust with the studio. And the reason I'm making this video is because I don't believe I'm alone in that. So if you kind of feel that way, we can kind of chat about it too, and discuss civilly in the comments. But if you don't think that's the case, then hey, be a part of the discussion too. We can all have a conversation here on the channel. But the reason I want to talk to this is because we've gone from a AA feel, kind of like a smaller studio, more independent, more risk taker, to a AAA corporate, safer type of developer that has been making video games. And we're going to be going over roughly about a what would you call it, basically a idea of the last decade of stuff that we've been seeing. And it's kind of nuts. So yeah, Bethesda started basically with Elder Scrolls Oblivion and Fallout 3 for a lot of people, for a lot of us. I mean, it's what we remember. It's what got us introduced into Bethesda. These games were expansive RPGs. They were thoughtful in design, from story to gameplay mechanics to music, and really created a true magic for the player. Man, I mean, like, the music in Oblivion is insane. And like the amount of sales that they got for the Oblivion remake were pretty good right out of the gate. Because yeah, a lot of people bought it because it was such a good game. Even though it was buggy and had issues, people still enjoyed it. They were still willing to pay that $50 price tag. Also, too, it had memorable moments for the story and for the characters, and it feels like they're becoming less and less often or less memorable as we kind of see a lot of the same type of stuff again. And this is not necessarily just a Bethesda problem. I think this is pretty much with every single publisher that we have out there, as they are slowly moving toward this AAA. And the new indie coming AA is moving into the space. And they are making some good games. So I'm not saying there's any good games out there, but I'm saying that AAA is becoming this safe place, less risk-taking. And there's been plenty of channels already talking about that. But this specifically is also just on Bethesda. Part of the issue with AAA, though, and the publishers that are pushing for some of this stuff, is that we see more of a push of live service ever since Rainbow Six Siege and Fortnite in 2015 and 2017. And also, we've seen some of this social politics that has been interjected into some of the games that we play in that push, like Veilguard. I think that's an easy example. There's also Dustborn, and there's also some others. Some are even saying with like Assassin's Creed Shadows, of course, and also maybe even Intergalactic, or like Avowed. So, and even Outer Worlds 2, though I haven't played either of those last few games. But that's what people in some of the discourse is online. I even think, too, that some people are wanting to find it when it's not really there. So that's why I think it's important for me, before I really give my opinion on something, to actually play it myself. So yeah, this year for me was where the memorable stories and moments were actually Expedition 33 and also Blueprints, which are games that have been nominated for different nominations for the Game Awards, which we're going to be seeing in less than a month now. And I'll be covering that. But yeah, the beginning of Expedition 33, man, as a husband and a dad, that was mother-frickin' heart-wrenching. That was awful. And then also the end game of Blueprints, which I understand most people didn't get that far. You can see that through the trophy list. But yeah, Blueprints really has some important life lessons that you get to go through toward the end of the game. And I think a lot of people are missing out on those. So, but it is tough. But yeah, don't be afraid of a puzzle game. See how far you can get. Challenge yourself. It's good to do that. But also with like Fallout Shelter and Elder Scrolls IPs, Bethesda was pretty much, or just Fallout and Elder Scrolls IPs, yeah, Bethesda was a peak developer for its time. They had those memorable moments. They had those hilarious times, the kind of evolution of what could happen, what was dynamically running through the world, all of these NPCs. And I mean, even Oblivion had characters that had a daily routine every single day. And when they were gone, well, that changed the world. I mean, that's even pretty rare to have today. So we kind of had, first one of the frustrating things for me personally was that we had 5 versions of Skyrim. It was a really good selling one for them. Even though it wasn't good on PlayStation 3, that's where I got to experience it. But Skyrim sold very, very well. There's still plenty of people actually playing it today. Tens of thousands. Every week, every month, log in and play the game. But we had those 5 versions from 2011, which started with the original, all the way to 2021. So we had a whole milking of a decade of basically a game every 2 years, whether for VR, different port, or whatever, or for next generation. 5 different games. And it's like, we don't need 5 different games. We just need another Skyrim. I mean, let's be real. Let's put some of the energy toward that. In 2018, we had Fallout 76, which was an online multiplayer for the Fallout franchise. And this was the worst launch Bethesda game ever, in my opinion. Buying it and getting it at launch, and it's like, holy smokes. The launch and also post-launch was so bad. From November 2018 to 2020, the price went from $60 to $20. And for back then, that was a fast price drop. And now it's even faster for a lot of AAA games because, again, people just aren't buying them like they did, and they're not seeing that movement in volume. Pre-owned was also cheaper than $20. At one point, I found it for under 10. It was like $8 or $9. Well, basically, some of us thought that it would pretty much fail, that the servers were going to go offline. I was one of those people. But Bethesda said that they were committed and that they were working on it. But we also had COVID. Okay, that boosted it up. People needed something to play. They also did put in a lot of fixes. They did put in a lot of content, also free and stuff you pay for. And then we also had the TV show, which really brought Fallout 76 back. So while a lot of people went back to Fallout 3 and 4, or went back maybe to Fallout Shelter, which they're still supporting all of those games to a degree. In New Vegas, that was another one, even though that's by Oblivion, that was still published by Bethesda. A lot of people did actually go back to Fallout 76. That actually saw the biggest spike after the TV show. And now we have Season 2 to look for, probably in 2026. In 2023, we got to see Starfield, which ended up getting delayed 10 months. It released at the end of 2023, September. And this was a mostly boring story for a lot of us. It wasn't necessarily a bad game. It was just an empty game. And that was really kind of surprising. The biggest difference for me was that there was no real overall conflict, and all of the real-world effects were missing from the gameplay and the choices of the player. It really didn't feel like an RPG because I wasn't really affecting anything. Still, I think one of the best games still is probably Fallout 3, Oblivion, and also New Vegas. Those games do a wonderful job of influencing the world, where your decisions actually have weight, not just on some people or some side quests or whatever, while guiding you on this kind of journey. No, they literally just open-ended for you. There's a main objective if you want to go for it, but there is so much stuff where the world can be changed for you. And that is what is so amazing and immersive about those games. But Starfield did also have another problem. They had a procedural AI landscape, and also the buildings, which, okay, I've seen the same cave before, I've seen the same building before, the same enemies, the same tactics, the same factions, the same ships, the same, like, it is literally the same pretty much everywhere you go. So while procedural generation was okay, it did feel like a lazy shortcut. And what they wanted to do was basically have 1,000 worlds, 900 of them with nothing on it for the modders. But again, there wasn't enough there for a lot of the modders to really attach. And that sucks because some of these modders actually quit. Like, their projects are just dead in the water. No one's picking them up. No one's pushing on. And Starfield still doesn't really have anything. Bethesda really just missed the point on why players loved being in their games. It wasn't the fact that they were big or they could explore stuff. It was the fact that the worlds were magical. They were living, breathing experiences. The level of immersion was stuff we hadn't really seen before in a lot of different video games. It really was peak, top notch. But yeah, they focused on just how big it is and made it bigger, and that just really made Starfield feel lifeless. Also, players fought with the developers for a long time. And eventually, Bethesda caved into the demands. So we were able to get more options. We were actually to get some of the basic mechanics fixed in the game. And then we were also able to get a rover, which really doesn't necessarily work because, well, the worlds aren't made for that. Okay, they're rocky, craggy. The procedural generation kind of messes with stuff. And it's not very fun trying to actually drive on this craggy planet with your rover because, yeah, it gets stuck all the time. So that's kind of horrendous. We also had, too, in 2024, the first DLC, which was supposed to be the savior of the game, right? It looked good. It was interesting what's going on. We're finally going to breathe some story into this game. And it was really an absolute joke. We were looking at $30, $35 pretty much for a 5-hour-ish story. And that was kind of it. And again, it was buggier than the game. It wasn't ready. There wasn't really a lot of in content. There really wasn't a lot of expansion. It was just a lot of waxing poetic, listening to conversations while you're just standing there for a good part of the game. People even made videos on this, just like, guys, I literally spent 2 hours just listening to conversations out of my entire short playthrough of the DLC. Like, the price did not match the experience. So again, that just did not feel right. It was buggy, as I said, too. Performance issues, unfinished. There were some crashes for some people. It just wasn't fitting that price tag. It was not good. We also heard, too, that there was no second DLC. Oh, well, maybe. Just kidding. Yes, we're going to have a second DLC, which we've heard nothing about. We're at the end of 2025. We haven't heard a single thing. And I don't think we're going to hear anything either at the Game Awards. I think we'll hear something in the beginning, maybe first showcase with Xbox in 2026. And then maybe we'll get it at the end of 2026. But again, are we really going to care with what they've shown so far with Starfield? Excuse me. It's been kind of a mess. So that's not really good either. 2025 and, well, 24 and 25, we also had Fallout Day. But the 2025 Fallout Day this year was a knife to the heart, folks. It was so frustrating for me. We had Fallout 4 Anniversary Edition because it was the 10-year. Hey, perfect. That's wonderful. We also had the anniversary of New Vegas, which also was great. But what they did for the Anniversary Edition was make a buggy version of the game. So please don't buy it. Just wait. We also had, and all they really added was microtransactions. Great. Their content created, 150 of them are free, and there's other ones that actually paid for by content creators and also from the studio themselves. But again, this feels like a cheap shortcut. And then they're also saying, oh yeah, the graphics look better and whatever. But it's like, we already got that update. We got that for free. So that really wasn't anything. So all they really did was give us a store with microtransactions in it, please more money, and made it buggy and broken. Some of the shaders are totally screwed in the game. Maybe they fixed that by now, hopefully, as this is the end of November. Also, we just had a re-release of New Vegas. They basically made a resin statue, made some other fancy stuff. Hey, no updates, no upgrades, no remake, no remaster even. Just rebuy the game. And that's how they treated Fallout for the anniversaries. It's so wonderful. They also didn't really have much to show for 2024. We haven't even seen anything for the TV show. I think that there's a teaser now, but that's really all we kind of have. So, incredibly frustrating to see that. Now, the next big thing that we're going to see is Elder Scrolls 6. And this will likely launch, I think, as a title for the next-gen Xbox. Next-gen Xbox or PlayStation 6 or next version of graphic card, the 60 series and all of that kind of stuff. But this was announced in 2018, and we're looking at next-gen. I know there's rumors and whatever, but when we take a look at what was actually shown during the Activision Blizzard King acquisition from Microsoft, they showed some stuff that showed that their timeline was actually 2028. So we're going to be waiting 10 years. Really, folks, we're going to be waiting 10 years for Elder Scrolls 6 from announcement to actual fruition. That's kind of insane, guys. It's okay to be early, okay? That's fine. But a decade. Is anybody really hyped for this anymore after what they've already shown with Fallout 76 launch, with Starfield, with what they've done for other Fallout games, continuously remaking versions for Skyrim so they can sell it again? This is kind of nuts because we've skipped an entire generation console now because it was announced when we had the Xbox One and PlayStation 3. So we skipped, or PlayStation 4, excuse me. So we skipped PlayStation 5 and Series X maybe, and then the game is going to be a launch title for next gen in 27, 28. That's kind of nuts, guys. I mean, really think about that. And this is how Bethesda is treating their IPs. And treating us really as customers. There is a massive demand for their games. But we're not getting much of really what we want. And it's okay to have Fallout Shelter. It's okay to have DLCs. It's okay to say, hey, we hear you. But a lot of us feel like maybe that we've been fighting Bethesda for a long time. That Bethesda just feels more corporate and less AA, like what we grew up with. And that kind of just makes us leery of maybe what we can expect with Elder Scrolls 6. It certainly dampened my expectations of Elder Scrolls 6, and I still don't even know if they're going to be able to meet that expectation. And, man, and then there's also Fallout 5. Well, Fallout 5, Bethesda has announced themselves, I don't care what the rest of the leakers and rumors say, that's supposed to be after Elder Scrolls 6. So we can expect that in the 2030s. So in the meantime, what's happening? Well, we've heard from maybe Virtuos, again, another rumor, is that, maybe they're working on a Fallout 3 remake or something else, some kind of remake. So that will be cool. I will be joyful of that when we get that. But again, if we get a Fallout 3 remake, are they just going to add another store? Hey, here's the game. Buggy, because it's in Unreal Engine 5. Even though Virtuos can do some good work, man, Oblivion was not ready. They need to delay that shit. And then the store. And I really think that this is kind of Bethesda's new business model. Instead of creating the immersive live experience of their worlds, they're going, hey, let's get some content creators in here to make stuff for us that then we can sell through a store. And we're taking the mods that were free and now we're working on making them paid, which a lot of them are still buggy, which a lot of them still are not worth the price. So yeah, this makes me kind of about Bethesda a little bit. Because while I still like them, while I think they can still grasp it, I'm curious too how things are going to be when Todd's gone. Because he really says he's basically just has Elder Scrolls 6 left. And then he'll retire and he'll move on and someone else will take his place. And then how is that going to go? So Bethesda for me used to be 5 out of 5. 100% score. Pretty much for their games. Really loved them. Really enjoyed them. But seeing with what's been happening for a little over a decade now, and even how they're treating their stuff today, it's like, man, what are we waiting for? What are we really excited about? I don't know. Let me know. Leave it down in the comments. And how do you feel about it all? So with that, folks, you can always follow me over at Gaming Garbage 22 over at YouTube. You can also click through all of the playlists there. There's a bunch of varied stuff that's released every single week. And hey, if something's not for you, don't worry about it. Just move on to the next thing. There's more coming in the future all the time. You can also follow me over at Twitch if you'd like. And yeah, when I play video games, I'll definitely chat with you guys if you let me know that you're there. Simple as that. Also, too, if I've earned the video, or if you've liked the video, go ahead and like and sub for me. Spread it through the algorithm. Basically, it's you guys that are going to make this channel successful. But yeah, I am just frustrated. I am ready for some good games. I'm ready for the focus to not be the microtransaction store anymore. I'm ready for the focus to be the immersion, the experience again, like we had in the 2000s. Because we have a whole generation now, maybe even two, that don't know what the 2000s were like. And gaming now is just kind of meh. And that's why these games are having trouble getting the sales. It wasn't hard for a good game to get 5 million in sales, folks. Even 10. If it was a good game, if it was game of the year, it was basically guaranteed you had, somewhere between 5 and 10 million sales. It was pretty easy. But now, game of the years are having trouble even getting 3 million in sales. Like, we're not buying what we did. And there's also a lot more competition out there, too. I mean, all of the games just through the Xbox Showcase. Not all of those are going to be for everybody, but there's something for somebody. There's a lot of it there. And I'm kind of excited for those games, including Dave the Diver. That's already been out, but it's accessible to me right now. So yeah, I don't know. I've had my frustrations, I guess, since 2017. And my frustrations are not getting better. And I wouldn't necessarily call them pessimistic. I would just call them realistic, because these are what these companies are showing me. But we've also had the downfall of BioWare. We've also had the downfall of Rocksteady. And we've also had the closure of even some other studios. Like, they just don't exist anymore. And there's plenty of IPs out there that they won't do because it can't be made into live service. And I kind of blame live service. That's actually my next state of gaming. So with that, folks, I'll see you guys on the next one.